I get wet at the thought of you.
So I initially acquired the Integra by trading an old 98 Fat Boy that I had about $2,000 into for. She had plenty of issues, but I was back behind the wheel of a Honda. First thing we had to do is get this transmission pulled out. It was making all kinds of noises and would not shift into hardly any of the gears. While we had her apart, I went ahead and did an LSD and a complete refresh of the whole transmission, including synchro. And while the trans was off, it just made sense to go ahead and do a clutch now that would hold the power I was expecting to get. Obviously, it only made sense to piece together a cheapest possible turbo kit as I could so I could make some choo-choo noises immediately. That, paired with no tune, led to the demise of this engine. It spun the bearings around on one another and torched the crank. Obviously, I knew better, but it had been 10 years almost since I was in the Honda game. I was excited, man. What can I say? So I got a stock bottom end put back together, got the head put back together, got the engine and trans back in the car, and then started on the engine bay. Some welding, some sanding, a little bit of paint. She's starting to come along nicely already. Got that ABS and all the extra lines deleted. Man, that freed up a bunch of space over there. I didn't want to go too crazy because at the end of the day, it's not a show car, it's a street car, it's a driven car, it's a used car. So I didn't want to make it perfect, but I did want to make it look better. And after about a week or so of work, we've got her all put back together, the engine bay cleaned up, new manifold, and we're ready to start rocking, man. Oh, and don't worry, I bought an emulator, so we're able to tune now. This is a cheap $130 emulator called BM Dev. Decent little starty emulator, but it does have its issues. I'd recommend just spending a couple bucks, get Snake. Now let's get started on all this rust before this thing rots away on us. I started by cutting out the two pieces on each side of the car on the rear wheel wells that was rotted out and got new metal welded in. After using a tiny bit of body filler to smooth everything out real nice on the edges, we got her primered. And things may have escalated after that. So I primered the whole entire car. So I'm pretty rough on stuff, but I wanted to have a nice fresh paint job too and not worry about scratching it up. So what I ended up doing was herculining the whole entire car before spraying it with a single stage, and the color name was Sand Camo. After body work, I moved on to brakes and suspension, where I went ahead and swapped out my stock calipers for a set of the Type R replacement calipers and CRV pads. Boy, were they a tight fit with these wheels. Then I got that suspension lined out with some max speeding rod coilovers, some lower control arms, subframe brace, etc., camber arms, adjustable toe arms, all that good stuff. Then it was time to move on to putting a cage together. Now I started with a main hoop that was pretty bent, but all the rest of the bars were donated to me by Matt Vaughn, and I used them to tie everything else in. Here's the two kicker bars off the main hoop back to the rear strut bar. We got the strut bar welded in, and then our crossbars coming down welded to the strut towers. I was honestly super pleased with the way this came out. This was my first full cage that I had done by myself from pretty much scratch. Needed a set of seats that sat a little lower. Found a great deal on these Del Sols with the red stripe in the center, which was perfect for my color scheme. Well, I guess this means it's time to take her out for the first time and see what it does at the track. Let's go. She's loaded up. Let's roll. So after a couple trips to the track, I learned a couple things. One is I need more power. And two, I need a whole hell of a lot more seat time. We're going to worry about more power first though. First things to arrive were our water pump, our bearings, thrust washers, and our cylinder sleeve support. After that, our ACL Performance oil pump showed up next. Then our Speed Factory pistons, Cometic head gasket and SuperTech valve springs for our head, shout out to Mad Scientist Auto, and also some LS scat rods with upgraded ARP hardware. Those also come from Eric Jarvis at Mad Scientist Auto. If you're doing a performance-based build, especially Honda stuff, hit Eric Jarvis at Mad Scientist Auto up. He's got everything you could possibly need, from bearings to rings to rods to pistons, including assembly if that's what you need. You can find him on all socials. Now this is my first time doing the epoxy. I got it done, but man did I make a mess. Once the epoxy got set up, we got the crank in and rods and pistons installed along with the head studs. Then I moved on to the oil pump and water pump. Next, we got those dual titanium valve springs from Mad Scientist Auto slapped in the head. I think it's safe to say we replaced every gasket and seal in this engine. Now we're making some progress. We got the assembled block and transmission in the car. Let's get that head slapped on. Once we get the head on, we're going to throw this bad little mamma jamma of a turbo Gen 2 from Pulsar 3076. That ought to help us make some jam. That paired with this Block's ram horn style manifold should be very little if any boost lag at all, especially with the high compression. A few small things to handle like fuel lines and inline filter. Got those knocked out as well, along with a bigger catch can and an extra line. We upgraded from that BM Dev thing to a Snake V2 Bluetooth emulator with all new capacitors and rebuilt ECU from OxyTuned. The only thing I had to add to this ECU was the boost by gear stuff. Now I wanted to make sure with this freshly rebuilt trans I didn't mess any gears up, so we got a billet shifter assembly with lockouts from Jack Spania. The shifter assembly actually deletes the stabilizer bar part of your shifter assembly. Now that we've got all this extra power, we're going to need a way to hold it back so we can preload that clutch on the staging line. And while we're messing with the brakes, you might as well go ahead and install this nice Willwood brake booster delete. Cleaned it up a lot, freed up a lot of space in that area. And braking did not change a whole lot. Man, she's all together, looking good, boys. I'm liking the progress I'm seeing, but the journey must continue. I don't particularly care for my intercooler and everything being so exposed up front, so let's get a bumper on this thing, along with freeing up some space. Much gooder. Now let's get a bash bar / bumper bar on there to protect everything down low. Once again, another first for me. Don't be scared to try new things, guys. You might be surprised at the outcome. Now that everything else is all stiffened up and upgraded, let's go ahead and get us a nice new strut bar made up. Much more heavier duty and beefier than the eBay one that was on it. Oh yeah, daddy like a lot. So if your battery isn't in the stock location and you go to run at a track, you've got to have an on and off power switch that the officials can get to in case of an accident. But here's mine. Well, the outside has got so much attention, let's go ahead and do something about this raggedy ass interior of this car. Oh boy. Yeah, it looks great. Super happy with the progress so far in like a year's time. Speaking of time, it's time to drive this old girl. Holy sheep shit, traction's definitely going to be an issue. I wanted to hold off on getting a set of these, but here we are, we need them. The slicks added with some weight up front, being able to control the bias side to side, I think that ought to help us hook a little bit. Look guys, total cost in the car as of right now is right around $3,200. You can build a nice, quick, reliable, fun car without spending a shitload of money or having a big fancy shop do it. Now if you've got the money and means to go that route, there's nothing wrong with it. But some of us, we don't have a choice. So if you get anything out of this, get some motivation and some inspiration. You can do it. Unfortunately, it's the middle of winter, so I haven't been able to do much testing on those two things yet. But as soon as we get some nice weather, you better believe I'm going to be out there, so stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss that footage. But that's an update so far on the car from start to present day. I appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. Going to leave you guys with a before and after, about a week into ownership versus current day ownership. And here's your reminder one more time. I didn't use any big special equipment, a shop, or a big bank account to build this car. Just a very small garage, a whole lot of passion, a flux welder, and a cutting wheel. You guys can do it too. Don't be afraid to try. Normally this would be the part where the guy would thank all of his sponsors, but I don't have any. But I am going to take a second to shout out Eric Jarvis at Mad Scientist Auto and Tyler at OxyTuned. Both of them dudes, anytime I send them a message asking any sort of question, I have any kind of concerns, they immediately get back to me and help at the best of their abilities. I highly recommend both of those guys. Check them out if you need anything that they provide.